You know, he was gonna wake me up to breakfast in bed. I was gonna have like presents laid out, Louis Vuitton, all of that, a fancy dinner reservation. He was gonna have like a dress on the bed and be like, Dave, put this on. I've got the best restaurant on the island. That's what I was expecting. And hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Mayfair.
I'm Winston.
And we are the Clements.
Go do a little dance with it. Like...
I feel like we're getting better at our intro because Lord knows when we began. Anyway, hey guys, I'm drinking. Do you know what? Let me know in the comments if you would like this, but I don't know if you've noticed, but I just love drinks. I love tea.
You're a connoisseur of the beverage.
I'm a connoisseur of the beverage, and right now I am drinking this iced tea. It's homemade. It's with, I bought this like infuser thing. I don't have the link. It was literally like from like a secondhand store near where we live. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to blab, but I bought this infuser and I basically infused black tea with ginger, lemon, and rose. We had some rose petals, and bellissimo. And I just added some stevia. So it's sugar-free, tastes delicious, because I've been looking for like a cold drink that I can have that doesn't have like, you know, loads of sugar, so I can try and stay stashed for the summer, honey.
Especially now with the weather getting better.
Exactly, like you need something cold. And this, I've cracked the code with this. I might even get like decaf tea, so it's even more like don't think black tea has that much caffeine in it, but you know, just for an alternative. Anyway, if you want to see how I make this drink, as well as I know some of you guys were asking about the dawa and my coffee, let me know. Maybe I could do like a midweek, you know, drink segment if you guys like that, just like a little tutorial, because I'm into all that. So yeah.
Connoisseur
has spoken.
Anyway, let us get back to today's topic. And I think, as you may have gathered from the title, this one's going to be a little bit different maybe to our typical conversation, because we're going to be focusing on, I guess, the less shiny side of the apple, because I feel like, you know, especially if you follow these couples, these married couples,
the YouTube couples.
Yeah, the YouTube influencers who want to show you like the perfect side, you know, the travel or the fun stuff, which is important.
Yeah.
And needs to be highlighted. I feel like today for us we wanted to focus on how we handle some challenges.
Yeah.
Especially those around communication and just conflict resolution, because, you know, for anyone who's been in a relationship, you know, that is just a big reality. Yeah,
it's a big thing. Like it's probably one of the, I know everyone talks about communication being the key to marriage or a good relationship, but I feel like when they talk about that, your communication's only tested when you kind of have conflict or, you know, you rub up against each other. So yeah,
because it's easy to communicate well when things are going well. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing coming up for you. There's no traumas. You know, no one's getting in their feelings and those kind of things. But you know, when you're tested, that can be super challenging. Yeah. And I think for us as well, you know, having gone through the pre-marital stuff, I think actually maybe we can even start there, because I think for me, at that point when we did the pre-marital stuff, you know, we're kind of going through it, and I think there's a part of me that just kind of thought, check.
We don't need this.
I know this stuff. Like, I mean, come on, who doesn't know about active listening and, you know, letting the other person speak, like, all of these fundamentals.
It feels obvious. And I think especially because we basically communicate for a living. I'm a life coach, Winston's a speaker, so I think we were kind of like, do you know, like, if anyone can do this communication thing,
it is us.
It's us. Like, we got this down. Like, maybe other areas, but let's just slide over communication and conflict, because this is what we do. Like, we talk to people for a living, we have conversations, but Lord, will we humbled.
Well, we've been humbled a few times, if I'm honest, but I think the one that stands out for me is the honeymoon. No, I would say actually it was a big mirror that was held up to us.
Definitely.
In terms of our communication, because, like I said, up to that point, it was kind of like, you know, that makes sense. That's a good reminder. But I feel like I pretty much got this under control. And then we got married, and then we went on honeymoon, and then now we were having what felt like real
Real conflict. Yeah, and I think because our honeymoon vlog is out, you can check it out. We'll put it in the card somewhere. You guys saw like the glitz and glam of the honeymoon, and it was an amazing honeymoon.
It was awesome.
It was awesome, but that was the first time I think we really saw conflict in the face. Like when we were dating, we had like our moments, but I don't know if it was the fact that we didn't live together. I don't know if it was the fact that you kind of have that break when you're dating, so if things get a little bit tense, it's like, okay, cool, you know, I'm driving to work, or you know, I'm gonna go make dinner, whatever it is. But when you're married, you don't have that. And honeymoon as well, not to mention it was after a really stressful point. Which that's the same thing with marriage as well. Like you are literally doing life together, like in the most real way possible. So don't, I guess that's like one tip. This isn't a tips video, but like that's one tip that I would give, is be aware of the potential stresses that are going on in your marriage. Like whether that's like, you know, something more serious like loss of a loved one, or something quote unquote less serious like, I don't know, hormonal changes, like whatever. Be aware of those things because they can end up having an impact without you realizing, and you're on the back foot. So by the time we got to our honeymoon, it was actually after a really stressful period, for so many reasons, like family reasons, and you know, I was studying as well, planning a wedding. We planned our wedding in like less than 3 months in the middle of a pandemic, so everything was, if you guys want to see a video on how we planned our wedding, because it looked beautiful in the pictures, but the stress, so it was planning a wedding,
also planning what was going to happen after the wedding,
like planning to relocate, all of that. So we got to the honeymoon and we were newlyweds. This was the first time we were together for that long, and we were both basically burnt out by the time we got there. So you can imagine it was like a perfect concoction for conflict. What kind of like, how did that kind of show up for you in the honeymoon in terms of like the conflict, and where you kind of saw, okay, we have work in this area to do?
You know, when I think of the situations that cause conflict, I wouldn't say there were serious situations. So it wasn't like all of a sudden we discovered that we had this massive clash in values.
That would have been a problem.
Because that would have been, it would have been like, but I just signed them, the dotted lines. So,
what's going on?
So now what do I do? Can I return this one? But it was just the petty things, like literally the things that I would hear, you know, other couples fighting about and think, how? That's so childish, would be the kind of things that we would beef about. And I think maybe the difference there is, you know, like you said, when you're dating, you can almost have, you know, a disagreement or not see eye to eye on something, and then it can be kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go home and cool off, and you go to your home and you cool off, and then let's try this again, you know, tomorrow or whatever. But you know, in this scenario, it's kind of like, no, there is no going to your home.
You're here in the middle of an island.
We're here
in this hotel room together.
We are the only two people that we know in this country. So we kind of need to figure it out. And so for me, that was kind of like, there was no escape. I think that was one of the first things that that's one of the first times that it hit me like, oh my God, you know, you just have to sort this. There's no way out. And so I think that's why for me that was such a massive mirror. And it made me like really look at myself in a deeper way, because like I said, I thought I was okay as a communicator, but it almost forced me to ask that question, but am I really? Am I really?
I think for me, the biggest thing that came up on our honeymoon, and you know, we're going to kind of touch on what we've learned about each other, like in conflict, kind of touching on maybe the differences between, you know, males and females, and hopefully you can glean something from that. But for me, I realized the biggest thing that I came up to face to face with was my expectation of marriage, and my expectation of a husband, because without even realizing it, when I got married, I had this expectation or this picture of what a husband was supposed to be, and I guess when you're dating, like, not that we were trying to impress each other, but maybe there's a bit more grace, because like you said, you have that time to like cool off. But when you're doing life with someone, it's so different, because you see that person and they're good, they're bad, they're stressed, they're relaxed. So I remember like distinctly, I actually had my birthday while we were on honeymoon, And I had this expectation of what it was going to be like, he was going to wake me up to breakfast in bed, like, I was going to have, like, presents laid out, Louis Vuitton, the Gucci.
Okay.
All of that, a fancy dinner reservation, he was going to have, like, a dress on the bed and be like, Dave, put this on. I've got the best restaurant on the island, took me for like, that's what I was expecting. And that didn't happen.
Didn't quite go that way.
It didn't happen that way. And I was disappointed. And that was, I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, this doesn't fit. And that's just, like, one example of how, like, I think that's what you kind of face up with, is, like, your expectation, which comes from wherever, to kind of, like, reality and having grace, all those things. So that was the big thing for me, was, like, coming up to face with my expectations.
Yeah, and then I think for me, kind of leading on from that, is realizing that actually for me, it's really important how something is communicated to me, like, in terms of how a quote-unquote issue or, like, a mismatch in expectations
I've learned that about you.
is raised. Like, that's so important for me, because and again, we're all bringing, like, so many years of us, our upbringing, our experiences, previous relationships, traumas. We're bringing all of that to the table, and we're probably projecting on that. But for me, I realized, if something is raised in a way that doesn't feel friendly, and this doesn't even mean that, you've, like, attacked me or done anything to me, but if the way I receive it doesn't feel friendly, if I process it and it feels like an aggression to me, then it's like my default setting is like, okay, I don't want to hear about it. You're going to come to me properly with that.
That is so true. And I guess, like, it would be interesting, like, for me to talk about maybe what I learned about you and what you need in conflict, and maybe you can talk about what I need. I was talking about this to my sister the other day. Shout out Mayfield. If you guys don't know, I have a twin sister. She was my maid of honor, so you'll see her in the wedding pics. But and we're gonna bring her on at one point. She's in Copenhagen. But we were talking about this, how, like, I learned, like, for men, I think respect is really important, and for women, maybe love more so. Obviously, everyone needs both, but I've realized, like, for men, respect is really important. And I would never come to you, like, shouting or, like, screaming, or, like, we just don't do the name calling thing. Yeah. But I realized this respect goes so much deeper, like, for Winston than that. And that's what I deep, like, in conflict. Like, even if I have, like, an issue of, like, babe, don't leave your socks there, or, like, you should have given me more notice about this, this event that we need to go to. For him, I realized it's really important for me to say, hey babe, like, there's this thing that's come up for me, or there's this, issue, but I want to make it clear, like, this is, there's this issue, but I also see this and that. And that's really important for you to be acknowledged in that way, that even if I'm bringing something, making it clear that it doesn't mean that I don't see the other, good things and the amazing things that you are. And I think with relationships, an important thing is, like, not to judge what the other person needs, because it's so easy to be like, oh, why do you need that? Like, can't I just raise it? There's no room for judgment in marriage, like, because you're on the same team. So I think it's creating spaces where you can ask and learn, like, what is it that you need? And for you, that I realize that's a big thing. It's like how I actually, it's not the issue, it's how I bring the issue, and making sure, like, I fully acknowledge and make it clear, there's this thing that I feel like we need to work on, or, I'd like you to work on. But hey, babe, you also do X, X, and X really, really well.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, I didn't even know that was such an important thing for me.
Yeah.
Until we were in this and having, conflict and learning how to communicate.
Yeah.
That's when I was able to, after not even realizing initially, come to a place where actually that piece.
Yeah.
That piece about being respectful and being friendly, it's crucial for me. Otherwise, it just really impedes the whole conversation. And I think maybe what I've learned about you, again, throughout this process is, it's just that feeling of that you want to feel like you've been acknowledged. less
Yeah.
from a facts and points level,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
more from like a emotional or
How did I feel?
like the essence of that feeling.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite get it before because we would be having conversation or trying to work through something,
Yeah.
and you tell me I need to know that you've understood where
Yes.
I'm coming from, and in my mind I'm like, yeah, it's easy, like.
Yeah, oh
This-
my gosh, yeah.
Here's the 5 things that if I had done it or if I had communicated in a different way would have made all of this better. So here's those 5. And next time I'm just gonna check.
Do those
Do the 5
things.
things and we're good. And I'm looking at you and you're like, no,
And
that's not it. And I'm like,
yeah, and I think
so now what?
it's learning together because like I didn't, again, like for instance, I didn't know that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know that's what you need, you don't know how to communicate it. So he would say all the right things. Like it would be like, yeah, I guess, like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It is that thing that I feel like you could have done better. And, thanks for acknowledging that you're going to do it differently next time. But I think I had to learn about myself. Like, it's the feeling. Like, I need you to kind of, like, go back and see, regardless of, even if I had the facts wrong or the reason that I was upset was because, I misunderstood something, it was really important for me to feel like he, like, went there with me and was like, okay, cool. So I understand that it made you feel disappointed, like, when I did this, or it hurt you when I didn't, do that. That, for me, is when, like, all my guards come down. Like, I have to know that you know how I'm feeling, and then, only then can I move on. And I didn't even know that before, so it'd be like, you're saying the right things, but
it's
that's
not landing
something that's
somehow.
just, it just wasn't landing. So, So what do you feel like has helped us to understand what we need from one another, like in terms of conflict, and kind of do that better? Because it has been, we've been married for 8 months and we have years and years and years to learn.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we're getting better with each other, because it's so uncomfortable, like when you have moments, because you just like you're in love, like you want to feel in love all the time. But that's not the case, because like my husband said, like you come with your own trauma that you don't even realize, and this person's like rubbing up against like your own trauma that maybe you haven't even confronted. So it's a lot, and you're gonna have conflict. But I think it's about getting better in it and learning about one another in it and growing closer together rather than further apart. But what do you feel like has kind of helped us?
Yeah, I think what I've learned from me personally is I don't want to call it compromise, because for me compromise always feels like someone's having to give up something. I prefer to call it like we've learned how to heal together. So rather than compromise, it's about healing together. And like the way, maybe I'm just trying to think of a good way to express it, but maybe the way to think about it is, because marriage is one flesh.
Yeah.
Right? So we're no longer just individuals tending to our own needs. We are one flesh. And so the way that I think about it now is if our goal is healing, it's healing together. Right? Because, if I focus, if my arm is in pain, for example, and if I've got two parts of my body that are in pain, right? My goal is to heal both parts.
Yeah.
Right? Not thinking, well, my priority is my left arm, so the other part I don't care about so much. Your side of the body I don't care about so much. That just doesn't work, right? Because if the entire body is not healthy, then
doesn't matter.
Then it doesn't matter. So for me, some of the things that have helped us heal is, just getting to that place, even with just really acknowledging the things that we both need without priority.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to like what you shared about, for me, respect and being friendly is a big thing, and for you, acknowledging the feeling behind it is a big thing. So now for me, there's no priority in that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So like maybe before I'd have thought, well, that just sounds a bit fluffy, as long as I state the facts, that should be enough.
Yeah.
Like, but my mindset now is, okay, like this is all part of the healing that is needed for the entire body.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to deprioritize any of it.
That's good.
Because that's when you're moving to a place of compromise, which actually isn't holistic. So for me, it's just putting those needs at equal level,
the same level.
and
That's
at
really
top priority in order to get the full healing.
I definitely agree with that. I think it is a journey of healing. I say one thing that's definitely helped us is not judging what the other person needs. And it sounds so simple, but it's not, because the way that we're wired is like, we always think like our way is the best way. Like, this is the best way to handle conflict. Like, you know, even with the word sorry, like, for example, but we can touch on that in another video. But I guess growing up, like, with my brother, mainly my twin sister, we always had this thing, even if it was like a small thing, the word sorry had to be said, and then we were friends from there. But that word means different things for different people. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is like just not judging what the other person needs. Like, your job with the husband or wife is to learn, what does this person need from me, and then like get good at, you know, like my husband said, like get good at giving that, like without kind of considering yourself first, like, because you're one body, like you're one flesh. Like if the arm needs something and the hand can help the arm get that, the arm helps the hand to get that. And that really comes with a level of self-sacrifice, like, honestly, and like putting the other person first. And I genuinely don't think it can be done without God, and without like the Holy Spirit, which is why, like, I guess kind of fed into that. Having your own relationship with God is so important. I would say this to every newlywed, because it's easy to, like, you're in this bubble of love and, you know, you're with that person all the time. Don't forget about your own relationship and your own time with God, because you need that to kind of get the strength that you need to continue to forgive, to continue to put the other person first, to continue to, you know, give them what they need.
Yeah, definitely. And even just praying about stuff. You know, praying about stuff together, even mid-argument. I think we've done this once or twice. We should probably do it more. But I think there's been points where, you know, we're kind of going back and forth, and we're in deadlock, and it's just been, hey, you know what, let's listen to a worship song, or let's just pray about this and let the Holy Spirit move in this space. And for me, I mean, as Christians, as believers, like, that is such a powerful tool to be able to tap into.
Definitely,
and so underrated as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're doing as well, I guess more practically, but along the same lines, is we've got this document called the Charter. Maybe we'll display a screenshot of it here. But that's just us, you know, holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
You know, you can almost think about it as a code of conduct.
Yeah.
So it's like the things that we do and don't do in different situations. So for example, when it comes to conflict, we don't yell at each other, we don't call each other names. There's always that minimum level of respect, no matter how big the situation feels in the moment.
And also putting down what the other person needs. In the Charter too. Yeah.
And so just having that level of accountability through something that is written down is something that we both authored and agreed to. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think that's the Charter. We need to work on it more, but I feel like it's really good just to have something written down that kind of like outlines it. We have that for not just conflict, we have that for everything, like our goals and our dreams. What are the things that we want to see? How do we want to raise kids? Like, you know, what are we it's just a document that we can refer back to. But I think for conflict, having it written down, even if it's not as formal as like a charter, how are you going to do conflict? So now I know, like, if we're having an argument, okay, cool, this is what Winston needs, this is what Mayfair needs, this is what we don't do, this is what we do, because it can be hard to remember that in the heat of
in the heat of the moment. You just go back to your default settings.
Exactly.
And and you get led by that. But I think that's a good place to leave it. Let us know what you think, you know, in terms of like the content, and we'd also love to hear some of your own conflict resolution
so if you've
tips.
got tips, like, especially, you know, people who've been married longer than us, like, we're so keen to learn, so definitely let us know. I know I'm going to get questions as well on this hair. This hair is also from Anaya. Amazing, like, I love this color. So yeah, I'll drop the link in the description, so y'all can carp it as well.
Looks amazing.
Because I did not sit for hours and hours doing this hair. I wish I could. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We love you guys. Please make sure you do subscribe if you enjoy this content. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, so we know you enjoyed it. And share it with someone. Like, share it with a couple who is newlywed or a couple who are engaged. Because we're really hoping this is going to be a useful resource for newlyweds, or even people who are further along the journey than us.
Definitely, definitely. And this feels like one we'll probably do like every so often, like,
Yeah.
because we're still in year 0. We're in year 0, so maybe we'll check back in year 5, year 10 and see how we're doing with all of this.
Exactly. Awesome. See you guys next time.